What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where you already know it's real and it's raw. Today, we got a guest on that spent some time at USP Beaumont. You know, he's got a hell of a story to tell. You know, we might get into some of the MS-13 and Sereno stuff. Don't really want to get in their business, but, well, maybe we are. But anyway, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and talk a little bit about you, brother.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ben Chase. I'm from San Francisco, California. I spent about 42 months in the federal prison system, most of that at USP Beaumont. Then I went to FCI Lompoc for a little while, and now I'm in a halfway house.
So, Ben, how old are you?
I'm 42.
42 years old. What landed you in the federal penitentiary?
Bank robbery.
Bank robbery. Were you in the state before, or?
I've done 2 terms in California State Prison. One at New Folsom and one at Chino.
Maximum security prisons over there?
New Folsom was a level 4 yard. Chino was actually a minimum yard.
What was it like for you to walk into that California system? We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the federal stuff.
I mean, it's serious. You know, you can just feel it in the air. You've been on a maximum security yard, and anybody that has knows exactly what I mean. You can just feel the electricity in the air. Things are serious. People are playing for keeps, man. You got a lot of people there that are never going home. You know, it would mean nothing for them just to book you out and, well, they can go to shoot for a little while. Fuck it. The respect is worth more than any repercussions they can get, right?
I mean, that's big for you to say, because a lot of people don't understand that you know, you could, you know, stab someone and you're like, hey, look, man, repercussions ain't that serious. I lose my commissary, I go to the hole for a week or two, and I'm out. Who cares, right?
Absolutely, and you could always find somebody to give. You know this, I'm sure. Anyone that's ever gotten a write-up knows this. You can find somebody else to get your commissary. The homeboys will, give you a little bit of this and that. You can put money on somebody's books that ain't got nothing. They'll be happy to have $20, $30, and you can get your commissary, man. So you can use somebody else's phone. You know, if you don't have access to a cell phone. So there's really nothing they could do to you that really, like I said, for a lot of people, the respect is worth a lot more than any repercussions they could get.
For sure. So you're in California. I mean, did you have to tip up? Were you gang affiliated? Any of that stuff?
No, I mean, no, I'm not in a gang, but at the end of the day, the Aryan Brotherhood calls the shots. That's who runs things, period, point blank, end of story. You know, now if you want to get down with them or skinheads or Nazi lowriders, that's another decision. I'm not interested. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's who calls shots for the whites on a level 4 yard.
So you're at this level 4 yard. You're kind of like, man, I'm cool. I don't want to get involved. But do they make you put in work, or are you allowed to just fall?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. They're gonna come to you. Hey, man, this is what it is, homeboy. And anyone that's been there knows you got 2 choices. Either you can go put in the work, or you can become the work. That's your options. Oh man, hey, I'm cool. I don't really want to get in trouble. Yeah, that's out. It don't work like that. You do what you got to do, and hopefully you stay out of the way and keep off the radar, and it won't happen too many more times. But absolutely, you got when your number's up, you got to put in work.
What's it like for a guy to go to prison and have some other dudes tell you what to do? That, hey, you got to go put some violence on this dude right here. What's it like?
It sucks because I'm not a violent guy. If you looked up "not built for this," you would probably see my picture, man. This is not my get down. I'm not a violent dude. I'm not, I grew up in a middle class home. My mom was a lawyer. My dad was a firefighter, and I got strung out on heroin. That's a whole nother story. But man, that's not my world. Some people, and Chad, you've been on the yards at Big Sandy and Lee. Some people are built for that, man. Some people live for that. That's who they are. That's their first identity is, man, I'm this hardcore convict that does this and fucking stabs people and all this other shit, man. That's not me. So you just gotta do what you gotta do to make it through, man. That's all you can do.
You said your mother was a lawyer. What type of law?
Intellectual property, like patents.
Your father was a fireman.
San Francisco firefighter.
How does the addiction start for you as a young man?
So I wasn't even that young, to be honest with you. The first time I got arrested, I was about 28. Um, so a series of unfortunate events. I had a girlfriend that got killed in a car accident. My best friend hung himself, and a couple other little things happened at the same time that I needed to get a procedure done on my knee to clean up. I had gotten a surgery done on my knee, and for whatever reason, scar tissue or something built up under the kneecap, and so it was swelling up and it hurt like hell. So they had to go back in there and clean it back up. Well, they're what do they give you when they do knee surgeries? They gave me OxyContin. You know what I mean? And all I realized, man, is that the more of these pills I took, the less I gave a shit about everything else. You know what I mean? I have a bachelor's degree. I was working at a law firm as a paralegal. I was making good money. I had a lot of things going on for me, man, and it just those pills grabbed a hold of me and didn't let go. And eventually, the doctors are going to stop giving you prescriptions. You go in there, you look like shit. You're probably unshaved and scratching your nose, and they're going to go, man, beat feet. So then you got to start buying them on the street, and pills are expensive on the street. Well, heroin's not. So a lot of people, it's not an uncommon story. A lot of people, when OxyContin was out there on the street, followed the same path that I did, man. And it's taken down better men than I am. And that's just how it went.
How old are you now, Ben?
42.
42 years old. You're clean. I mean, you look all right. You're out here ready for the world. Do you think that you've conquered your addiction?
I mean, I don't think you ever conquer it, man. I think that you just you manage it. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you. I'm on Suboxone. I take Suboxone every day. They give it to me. I take it the way you're supposed to. Put it under my tongue, and it helps a lot with the cravings. And but I think addictions are a daily challenge, man. There's always going to be something to be like, we just want to be like, man, fuck it. This halfway house on that is in the middle of the hood. I actually got arrested for this case about 2 blocks away from here. I was living in a hotel. You could walk out the front door and spit and probably hit 3 people that are selling dope. So I mean, it's a struggle every time you walk out those doors, man. But you just gotta. My dad's got cancer. I don't know how much longer he has. I hope a long time, but it's not good. And I don't want to leave my mom high and dry again. She's been the only person she's been there for me through all the bullshit I pulled. What we put our mothers through, and I'm just trying to do the right thing, man. I'm too old for this shit. The experiences in the federal system have shed a new light. Honestly, California state prison is serious or dangerous, whatever it is. At least what you have coming, from the COs and the staff and everything else. Man, this federal Bureau of Prison system, man, they do not give a fuck about you. You have nothing coming unless they feel like it, and it gives you a new perspective, man. Anybody that's been through the federal system that goes back and it's not easy, I get it, but I mean, it really gives you a lot to think about before you think about fucking it up again.
For sure, man. But you know what's on the other side of that fence. I know the addiction is tough to conquer. Like you said, it's a daily challenge, man. But you got to try to always remember, before the slip, that's where you came from, and that's what it is. And
Yeah.
that's the alternative if you run into this bank. And next time, you're probably a career offender, and they're going to put your lights out, man.
There was a dude when I was making my way into the federal system that was this was his second bank robbery, and he the same thing. I just used a note. I didn't whip a gun out and stick it in no one's face or anything like that. And he got 31 years, and he's about 45, 46 years old. I mean, that's it. After that, it's over. Well, like you got nothing left after that. And I'm at that age right now where, man, if I caught another double digit bid, man, it's over. You know?
It is, man. I mean, and you have to stay focused on that. Yesterday, honestly, I've been out here over 3 years. Yesterday, they released me off federal probation. I'm done. Finally.
Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you. 20 years later, man, like this story has finally ended. Thank God, right?
Yeah. Hey, did you ever petition them to let you off early?
100%. I did.
And they said no.
They denied it, and they said, give us another year. And the government pretty much agreed. So I filed another one this year, and the government objected again. They went back on their word, but the judge granted it.
Okay. Congratulations, man. That's great, man. That's got to feel great.
Good. So now, listen, man, let me ask you a couple questions about federal prison, right? There's viewers on
Sure.
here. Some people don't really understand. You've been to the state of California, you've been to the Fed, so you can give us a perspective. What's more dangerous, state or federal?
Federal. Federal.
A lot of people that would disagree with you, and they'll make comments because they've never been there. They've never been to both places. But what do you think makes federal so much more dangerous?
California state prison is more structured. People aren't, there's not all these little car things where, the Midwest dudes might decide that they're going to do something and they're not going to clear it with anyone else. Whereas on a California yard, there's going to be a BGF dude that's got the yard for all the blacks. Crip, blood, whatever you are, this dude's going to be the one that signs off on shit like that. In the federal prison, people can just do whatever they want. If their car may only be 6 people on the yard or 10 people on the yard, and they'll just do whatever they want. There's just so many different groups with very little hierarchy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no dudes that are checking these guys and make sure. I mean, you've been around, people like the DC guys, like some of those other gangs like that, Baltimore dude. Just some of these guys are just fucking nuts, and there's no one to stop them. Be like, hey man, listen, we're not doing that. No, they just it's free reign, man.
Sometimes people make choices. The shot callers they call a shot that's like going to affect everybody, and it really doesn't have to. It's really not that serious. Is that kind of what you're
Right.
saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's organizations like the Mexican Mafia or NF and all those that are extremely dangerous, right? Serious people to be treated with respect, but they use their fucking head. They're not just going to do something stupid and crash the car out because somebody, they think somebody might have cut them in line on a phone or something like that. Some of these other groups, they'll do it for that. They the Louisiana and some of these other Florida cars. Some of those guys, man, will crash the whip out for nothing, for piddly little infractions. They will just go all in, and that doesn't happen in California. Usually, most in my experience, at least with the whites, and for what I've seen with the Mexican Mafia guys, when people got hit, you could see why. Yeah, okay, yeah, dude had it coming. All right, yeah, that this and this happened. All right, that makes sense. There's some foresight, some thought put into it. Man, some of these people in the federal prison system, bro, it's just, and they don't give a fuck.
It's it's crazy, right? So now I know you were
Yeah.
at USP Beaumont when the whole MS-13 and Serrano thing happened. Let me ask you this though first. What do you think? Who's the most dangerous gang in California state prisons when you were there?
Oh yeah, I would say the Mexican Mafia and the big homies for the Norteños.
Do you think about the federal system? Who do you think's the most dangerous group?
I think that those two groups have the potential, but I mean, I think the people that are the most unpredictably dangerous, I would say, are the DC blacks or one of the maybe Louisiana, those kind of guys. Just because, like I said, when you're talking about a black hand, when you're talking about an NF or some one of those dudes, man, there's some thought put into what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're not just shooting from the hip and fuck, consequences be damned. There's some thought put into before they do something, and that doesn't mean that they're not extremely dangerous. They are, but some of these other, like I said, the DC dudes and shit, man, there's just for nothing, just because they're bored that day, they might fucking poke somebody up or who cares, and they just keep pushing. I mean, it's just they don't have the same impulse control that like a black hand or an NF guy will have.
What are some of the things you've seen people poked up for, just like nonsense stuff?
Oh, I mean, I've seen people poke. Like I said, you've been in federal prison. One of the biggest issues is always what the phone. I've seen people poked up over perceived slights in the line, or getting in line and doubling back because you got somebody else's pack number, and so hey man, like let somebody else use the phone. Uh, Oversells. That's a common one. I'm sure you've seen it, man. That's another thing about California. Nobody owns any fucking cells in California. You know, you get to the federal prison. Oh, you can't go in that cell. That's a Midwest cell, or that's a blood cell. Man, you know, and you know this as well as I do. The administration, man, they know better, and they're still going to send you in there. There'll be one. You'll be a white boy walking in the unit. There's one empty fucking bunk, and it's in a cell with a fucking Louisiana black, and you're going, can't go in there, but they'll try you. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck. They don't. But yeah, I mean, just little things like that, man. Cell phone line, uh, $20. You know, little shit like that, man.
So now you're over there at Beaumont for the whole MS-13 thing. I mean, what was the atmosphere like? What was going on in the yard? What would cause them to, do the things that, obviously happened over there?
I think a big part of it is those MS dudes, the majority of them weren't from California. They were from the East Coast. They were from Virginia and Maryland, New York and shit. And they just were not feeling the way that those California Serranos talked to them and treated them like they were the little homies and their little errand boys. And check this out, man. I'm a Serrano from California, so you gotta listen to what I say, and I'm this and I'm that. Man, they weren't feeling that. You know what I mean? And those MS dudes, vicious. You know what I mean? A lot of them come from places in El Salvador where they were macheting people to death is a regular occurrence, man. It means nothing to them to go grab a knife and poke somebody up, bro. I mean, they're not punks by any stretch of the imagination. And those Serranos were kind of getting at them a little sideways, acting like they were, and this is a common thing, man. This is something that I don't like that happens, but a lot of people from California of all races that act like, well, I'm from California, man. So this is where all the gang shit started, homeboy. So let me check this out. I'm better than you, or I'm tougher. Man. There's gangsters from everywhere. There's gangsters from bumfuck Alaska. You know what I mean? So you know how it is, man.
It's that is how it is. I've not got along with California dudes for that reason. But I think they feel like we feel the same way when we're from New York, that we think that, we're better than people, but that's not really how I feel. What's your perspective on New York dudes?
I got no problem with anybody, man. Like, you know what I mean? And I'll say this about California. There's a big difference between dudes from Northern California and Southern California. And even I'll take it a step further. I'm from San Francisco, California. You know what I mean? We're on a whole nother level. All that racist shit, all that this that, man, we're not on that. Most of the people I grew up with weren't white. You know what I mean? So it's just that I do what I gotta do when you get to prison, right? You know what I mean? You gotta fall in line. You gotta follow certain, not sharing food and all this shit. I do what I gotta do, man. But that's not my beliefs. You know what I mean? That's not where I'm coming from. But I'll say this: the few dudes that I met from New York were cool. Philly, Boston, a couple other places like that. They were cool as shit with me.
Let me take you back to the MS dudes. You said that they were tired of, I mean, I guess being mistreated or pushed around, whatever.
I just treated like punks. I think they really thought that these dudes were trying to act like they were bigger and badder, and that these dudes better just fall in line and do what they're told, kind of shit,
Were them MS dudes over there? Were they like laid back? Were they respectful? Were they going out of their way to start trouble? I mean, what was it like?
Super respectful, super respectful. All to the umpteenth power, man. These dudes, no, they were serious people. And you've been in federal prison, Chad. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people that are serious people and be treated with respect. But they're cool. They're going to be respectful. Like we both talked about meeting Boy George. Boy George is a serious dude to be treated with respect, but he's respectful as hell. He's not going to go out of his way and be disrespectful. That's just not how he gets down. You know what I mean? MS dudes were the same way, bro. I had no problems with any of them, man.
And for the most part, I've always got along with them, man. Some of my best friends were Southsiders, and I was on a soccer team with a bunch of them MS dudes, man, that were from Virginia and Maryland and DC, and they were always respectful, and I was really cool with a couple of them and helped a couple with their cases and tried to get them out of prison. So,
Right.
I mean, you see what you see in the media with Trump and all of that stuff, but for the most part, them dudes to me were like always respectful dudes, man, and serious dudes. MS dudes are serious. Southsiders are serious. I said that they're probably the most toughest organization in federal prison was the Southsiders. They had the numbers and they played no games. And the MS dudes,
I,
I with them when I was at Big Sandy.
I agree with that. I'm just saying like the only twist I'll throw into that is like I said, they use their heads where some of these other cars like DC, like Louisiana or Florida Black, they don't think things through. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that makes them a bit of a like, if you're talking about strictly, about somebody starting some shit over nothing, you know, that's all.
Who do you think was the worst car at USP Beaumont? And say it, call it how it is. It's real and it's raw over here. Who was the worst car, man, and why?
What do you mean by worse?
Most disrespectful motherfuckers you ever seen in prison.
Yeah, the DC dudes, probably.
I thought you were going to say the Louisiana car being down there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of them. The tiebreaker, I guess, is that I met some dudes from Louisiana that were good guys, man, and one of them is a very good friend of mine now that I still talk to this day. Uh, so that kind of breaks the tie for me. But yeah, I mean, a lot of them are right there. There's a lot of them right there on the disrespectful tip.
Met a lot of good dudes from DC. It's usually the old timers, but now they got a lot of younger dudes
Yeah.
coming in, and they feel like just because they're from DC and they got the numbers that they could be disrespectful. I was in an FCI with dudes like that. I was in a low where them dudes just thought like, and then sometimes their big homies will be like, "Hey man, you better relax or your ass is out of here." And I respected them dudes. I got some good friends from DC, man. So I don't want to be like, "Oh, their car sucks and they're booty bandits," and because that's not. There's booty bandits in every car. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and the big homie for the DCs that had the yard, a guy named Nick, uh, was one of the best guys I met ever. I mean, he was super respectful. He was just a good guy, serious dude to be treated with respect. But he was just a great guy, man. We worked. I was an education GED tutor for almost 2 years. He worked in the law library, so we would chop it up all the time, man. He was just a cool guy. But you get all these youngsters, man, 20, 23 years old with all day, and they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, in that car, and you know this, Chad, they don't always listen to the big homie. In fact, they usually do whatever the fuck they want, and the repercussions be damned.
So let's talk a little bit about you walking out of prison. What's your mindset when you're walking out of prison? What are you thinking? Are you going back to try to be a paralegal? Do you want to get a job? What's Ben's mindset leaving prison?
Man, I'm going to do whatever I have to do so I never come back. Whatever I have to do to make sure I'm never in martial custody again. That's what Ben's going to do. I mean, I'm actually trying to get into this construction gig because the paralegal thing, depending on where you're going to get a job at, it's an issue when you have a record because they have sensitive client data and stuff like that laying around. They probably don't want to hire somebody with a record. And I don't blame them. You know what I mean? But I have no problem working. I'm not lazy. So another guy that was here kind of put me on with this construction gig for the laborers union. So I'm trying to get in on that. But my mindset the day that I walked out of there was whatever it takes, man, to not go back. Whatever I have to do, whatever crow I got to eat, whatever bullshit I'm going to have to deal with my probation officer and all this. People want me to do these stupid classes, whatever they need for me to stay the fuck out. That's what I'm going to do.
Did your family help you with your reentry? Did they help you out with clothing and food?
Absolutely. Well, my mom made sure I had plenty of money on my books when I got out, and I had clothes waiting for me. The day I got out of FCI Lompoc, and I get to R&D, and they tell me, "Oh, the property guy's not here. So all that property you just packed up to get ready to leave a few days ago, yeah, that guy's not here today." So if my mom hadn't sent in my clothes to, for me to change out, I've been wearing, some fucking prison khakis all the way back to San Francisco. But yeah, my family has been great. as they've always been. You know what I mean? My family's always been here for me. They've always made sure I had what I needed and above that.
Were you over there in Lompoc with Eddie Boy, Eddie Anders
Name doesn't sound familiar. He was at the F. Huh. He looks vaguely familiar,
from San
but
Diego?
I can't. Oh, okay.
Eddie's from San Diego. That was my right hand man. He's a former NLR dude from San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Didn't know if you were
Is he still there? They changed that medium yard into a low now.
He's home, bro. He went home about a
Oh,
half ago, 2 years ago.
oh, okay. Good for him.
So now you're out here in the street. You said, look, man, I'm going to do everything I can to stay out. Do you think that there's things that you've seen in prison that affected you mentally and emotionally?
Absolutely. I mean, you'd have to just be like a soulless individual to watch somebody get stabbed and killed and have it not affect you. You know what I mean? And I mean, I've just seen a lot of things. You get to the point in prison where you're almost numb to it, right? You have to be because it just happens so often. But I mean, absolutely. I mean, you wear the scars, man. You'll never be the same again. I remember one time in state prison, I seen these three black guys with padlocks in his sock bash this guy's skull in. They just kept hitting him and hitting him and hitting him in the head with these fucking padlocks and socks. And I'm sure you've seen the damage those things can do. And I mean, they literally smashed his head in, bro. And I just, you'll never be able to unsee that. You know what I mean?
It's rough, man. I mean, some of the things that you see and experience in there are definitely rough, and I do believe that they affect you mentally and emotionally. Let me ask you this: what was the yard like after the MS-13 thing happened and the Southsiders? What was going on? I mean, was it just total chaos when that was going on? Were the cops running everywhere? What was it like that day?
I remember I was in the unit and there was an MS guy in our unit, and I went to go talk to him because I used to talk with this dude all the time. We'd bullshit about sports, make little bets on football games or whatever. And he was the best way I can describe it is he was distracted. Like, when you're talking to somebody and they're kind of like, uh-huh, but you could tell they're not listening. So he must have known what was gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, you hear the deuces, or you look out the window and you can see cops streaming, over to the can't remember, it was one or two building, and they're just, a lot of them, and you're going, oh shit, and lock it in, lock it in, lock it in, and then everybody's glued to the window while you're watching, because what are you looking for? You're watching for the stretcher to come out and see, and for the people to come walk out handcuffed. That way you can see who, oh, those look like Mexicans, or those look like, and they rolled two dudes out on stretchers with a sheet over them. So you know what that means. You know what I mean? They didn't make it. And then you saw them take a bunch of guys in handcuffs, and then about 4 days later, maybe a week, you see them take out the black hands, and they walk them to the shoe, and they took Boy George, had 3 building. They took him and brought him to the shoe, and from what I heard, they're sending all them to the ADX again. But we were locked down for 9 weeks for that, man. You know what I mean?
Boy George, I mean, you talk a little bit about him, people that, some people know, but big time drug dealer from New York when he was a kid. And, what was he like? I mean, he was a Southsider, right? Or he rocks with them dudes, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Somebody handed me a magazine, and it was Infamous Gangsters of the '80s or something like that. And I'm flipping through the pages, and I look at this thing, George Rivera, and I'm like, is that dude right there? And I go over and hey, George, look at this. He kind of laughs. He goes, oh yeah, I had hair in that picture. But man, he was one of those dudes, man. He fucking, for the Mexican mafia to give you a building at a penitentiary, you're somebody. You know what I mean? They didn't give it to a Serrano. They gave it to Boy George. And I think he's a G27 or some Puerto Rican gang like that from New York. You might know better than I do. But he was a serious dude, very respectful. He'd bullshit around with you, joke around with you, but when he talked, people listened. You know what I mean? He demanded that kind of respect. I remember an instance. I'm sure you know what the situation with the phone in federal prison is. It's always a clusterfuck, right? Oh, I got after you and blah blah blah. The Boy George walks up to the white dude and goes, "Hey man, check this out. From now on, anybody that wants to use, so we had 2 phones and the blacks had 2 phones. So blacks had 2 phones. The natives, whites, and Southsiders had 2 phones. And there's only 4 in the unit. Anybody that wants to use our phones stands there in line, or they don't need to use them. And it's just like, you think, oh, who's this guy telling everybody to do? Man, there was nobody that pushed back on that at all. The natives, whites, everybody just said, all right, okay, that's cool, George. You know what I mean? That's the kind of respect and seriousness that man brought to the table. You know what I mean? He was one of them dudes.
Sure. I mean, I'm very close with his lawyer, and his compassionate release got denied. But yeah, I mean, I know exactly who
Yeah.
he is, and I hope that he gets a second chance, man. I hope he gets out of prison someday. So now, man, you're out here, you're free. I mean, we talked a little bit about how prison affected you. I want to see you stay free, man.
I mean, I want to see me stay free too, man. And my family wants to see me stay free. You don't just do things and affect yourself. It's like my mom's got scars that she wears because of what I've had to deal with and where I've had to be sent and having to worry about them. Oh, sorry, mom, I couldn't call you for a couple of weeks. Somebody got stabbed again. You know what I mean? So you got to start thinking about people other than yourself. And my mom will always do what she can. My parents always do what they can for me, but they're not going to be here forever, man. I don't want their last year spent worrying about my dumb ass because I did something stupid again. You know what I mean? It's just it's preventable. There's no excuse. There's no rationale, that can be used to explain going back, man. And like you've been through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man. These people will make you sick. You'll just shake your head in disbelief at the shit the BOP pulls, and to put yourself in a situation for them to have control of you again would just be stupid.
That's the message, right? Like when you go to prison,
Yeah.
man, you're not the only person that leaves with scars. Your mother has
No.
scars, your father has scars, your children have scars, your wife has scars, your grandmother. Everybody gets scarred if you make irrational, irresponsible choices that puts you in prison, man. So, that's the message. I always try to give a message, but before we go, is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you would say to a younger kid that's, coming from a white collar family, getting caught up in drug addiction and, robbing banks or, on their way to federal prison?
Listen, man, there's been people that were 100 times more slick or gangster, whatever, than you, and they got caught. They caught mobsters. They caught Chapo. They caught all these other dudes. And guess what? If you're fucking around playing on the dark side, you're gonna go to prison. And these people are not playing. I got 42 months for a bank robbery, and I paid for an attorney and some other things. But man, you out there selling drugs and shit like that, man, they're giving you mandatory minimums. Chad will tell you 40 years. Oh, you had a gun? Oh, yeah, sure. There's 20 years extra. I mean, they just have these mandatory minimums, and honestly, I got sentenced in San Francisco, California. You couldn't ask for a more liberal audience, right? You go to a lot of these places in California. You go to Bakersfield or San Diego and try and pull some bullshit, man, they're giving you decades behind bars, and they're going to send you someplace. I do not belong on a maximum security yard. That is not where I'm comfortable. That is not my thing. I am not one of those dudes. I am not trying to be tough because I'm not. That's not who I am. Man, you will have a horrible existence for decades. You get out there sent on that level 4 yard or maximum security yard. And the federal system, that's just what they do. They look for ways that they can calculate it. I only had 19 points, bro. I was on state parole, so they gave me another 7 points, and just so they could send me to a penitentiary. They're looking to screw you over. They're looking to fuck you over. Oh, you should have got pre-sentence credits. We didn't give them to you. Yeah, go ahead and file a lawsuit. Good luck with that. I mean, it's not, they play for keeps. These people are serious, and you're out there fucking around doing this and doing that, and the feds get involved. They are playing for keeps, and you're going to end up very miserable for a long time.
Well, listen, man, one thing I'm going to say to that before we get ready to go, we're going to get ready to close, but people don't understand that when you walk into these places, the staff members and the administration, they feel that they have to impose punishment. They forget that the punishment came from the court. They're just there to supervise you. But they hate you with a passion, man. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They're just like, you're a scumbag. You're a third world citizen. We could care less about you and kick you in the head and whatever. But listen, Ben, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on. You want to say something before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say in response to what you just said, man, absolute power corrupts absolutely. These people have absolute power over you, and it goes to their head. You know what I mean? And they exercise it and they abuse it. And you know what? The administration does not care if a CO takes your MP3 player and flushes down the toilet or calls you a bitch and throws all your stuff on the floor. They do not care. They will write you up for it. Say you did, you cussed at them, right? And they don't care. But the last thing I want to say to you, my brother, is I can't even tell you how much respect I have for you, for these videos and everything you're doing to try and help kids out and put people's stories out there, man. I've been watching a lot of them. And I just want to give a big shout out to you, Chad, man. Keep doing your thing, man. I got nothing but respect for you, brother.
I definitely appreciate you. I'm going to tell people, if you like what we're doing, man, share the video, hit that like button, subscribe. With respect, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.